Hello, vinyl community, and the rest of you. I'm back now. I haven't been making any videos for a couple of weeks, I think. Mainly because I've been rather busy with work and haven't really had that time and peace to sit down and make a video like this. But today I'm having a slower day, so I thought, well, why not? I feel as if I haven't showed records for some time, and I have actually bought a quite nice pile of records, well, last month or so. So before I start putting them into my expedite shelves, I'll show them to you in this video. And it's a very varied bunch of records, and quite interesting one as well. I'm going to start by showing you historically interesting record, mainly. It's a journey into stereo sound on Decca. It has the record number SKL 4001, and I think it is one of the earliest stereo issues on on Decca. I think it's from 1958. Front cover is laminated, and the back cover isn't, and it has this lovely dark blue with the silver line here label, and it says 1958. I'm not sure if this is a reissue, but I think it's from the time. And what do we have? Well, we have classical music. We also have the dance music, different sound effects like a train sequence, hence the train on the cover, and racing cars at Goodwood. We've got Mantovani, we've got Edmund Ross, we have London Symphony Orchestra. Interesting sampler of what you can do with the stereo sound. Okay, next album, very famous one, Status Quo, Piledriver. I'm not really a Status Quo fan, quite the opposite, to be quite honest, but some of the early stuff they made was quite good, and also this is Vertigo, so that makes it even more interesting. And it isn't the Swirl label. I'm not an expert on Vertigo, but this is what I think is called the Spaceship label. It's from 1972, I think, and it's a German issue. I'm waiting for two nice issues by the band Camel that I've been looking for, that I won on an auction. I had my hopes for a third album, but some person went in there and overbid me in the last minute. Oh, I hate that. But I found two later Camel albums, and although they're not as famous as, or maybe as celebrated as the earlier ones, these are quite good too. This is Nude. It's on Decca. It's from 1980? Well, it's the early 80s anyway. I think it's good. I listened to it, so. And I also found this, The Single Factor, also on Decca and from the early 80s. And there's two more Camels coming my way, but they haven't. The package hasn't got to me yet. I may get it in the early next week. Then I found this rather nice Cat Stevens, but Buddha and the Chocolate Box on Island. This is maybe not one of his most famous and celebrated albums, but still, he's a good singer-songwriter. And I think there's almost always a particular charm of the album sleeve design on his albums as well. I'm not really a disco man, but from my stepsons and I and my girlfriend saw a movie, this French movie, and what's it called? The well, sorry, I can't remember its name now. But anyway, there was some nice music by Earth, Wind and Fire on the kids got interested in it, and I thought, well, I haven't got anything by Earth, Wind and Fire, so I managed to get hold of this compilation. If nothing else, a compilation, greatest hits on CBS. Got hold of Kate Bush, Lionheart. I haven't got that much Kate Bush. This is one of these Fame issues from the 80s, which I think is some sort of reissue for Record Club or something like that. It's on EMI. Then I got 2 albums by the prog group Asia. We got Alpha and we have Astra, both on Geffen, and also both of them with a striking album designed by Roger Dean, as you can see. Then over to an album that I've had on CD for quite a long time, although the original album is from the early 70s. It's the Swedish singer and songwriter from Jämtland called Evert Ljusberg, his first album, God Knull. And this album consists songs and lyrics in local dialect, härjedalska, jämtländska, and we have some interesting covers of Shel Silverstein, and also a version of The Great Bell, more famous from the Marty Feldman repertoire, and also some very local songs that he has written himself. Okay, I haven't bought any of these famous the Peel Sessions albums before, or albums. These are mainly 12-inch 45 RPMs, but I've got one now, and it's with the Ruts, so it's punk. I haven't got that much punk, but I have the greatest respect for John Peel, the late great John Peel, and well, his musical knowledge and his musical enthusiasm. So I'm looking for more of these. Okay, some more prog. I'm in a UK prog mood right now, and I bought Van der Graaf Generator World Record, which I think is a great album. It's on Charisma, and this is I can't really see if it's a British or German issue. It's from 1976 anyway. I bought some albums by the group Mother Earth before, and I found now their first album, Living with the Animals, and this is an issue on Mercury from the late 60s, 1968 I think. I like this group, and I especially like the singer Tracy Nelson. Great voice. Okay, I went to the local charity shop, bought some records that were in well, not in the best shape, but and maybe not the thing I would really look for, but I found this album with the disco group Eruption, mostly known for One Way Ticket, but that one isn't on this. It's on the German label Hansa, but unless I'm mistaken, I think Eruption was a British group, but the album is German, and the German production, and it all looks very disco German, doesn't it? But so I'm not sure really. Singer Precious Wilson. Yeah, I'm a great fan of Lee Hazelwood, and I managed to find this Trouble is a Lonesome Town on LHI. Not in the best condition, but until I find a better copy, I'll stick to this one. Okay, another Fame issue, but this time of Harvest, on Harvest 2, Little Riverband. I think this is their first album, and I haven't listened to this yet, but I will. I didn't really know anything about it. It may not be as interesting as I first thought it would be, but I think I'll have to listen to it more closely before I make some sort of judgment. Oh yes, then over to a prog album that, well, I guess everybody should have, and I've been looking for it for quite some time, and now I found it. It's Close to the Edge by Yes, and this is truly great. This is a reissue. It's on the Atlantic label, but this is a reissue. I think it's quite new, actually. Although I weren't aware of any reissues of this album. But of course, you can't really keep up with everything. So, managed to find it now. And it's a great one, really great one. This is what makes me say it's a reissue, this one. Oh yeah, over to an album that I've been curious on for quite some time. I've saw it many times, many years ago, but I thought, well, this is what a silly title for an album. I really don't know what could this be. But of course, I've been heard more of it now, so I know that it's good, and I know that it's very sought after, and I know that it's many considers it a masterpiece. I'm of course, well, not of course, but I'm talking about the Iron Butterfly album Inagara da Vida. And now I got my copy, and it's on Atco, and it's in a great condition, I have to say. It's from 1968. It's an American pressing. Great one. Okay, then over to an album by a Swedish singer and song interpretator called Fred Åkerström, who made lots of albums in the 60s and 70s. I found his last album. I'm not really a collector, nor am I a fan of Fred Åkerström, but I found this one, Åkerströms blandning, and it's his last album before he passed away in the mid-80s. It's from 1982 on Metronome. The main reason why I want this album is because this album contains one of the best, well, in my book, the very best interpretations of a song by the Swedish legendary singer-songwriter Evert Taube. And it's a version of the song Fragancia. And it's such a surprising idea that that interpretation would be made by Fred Åkerström, because in many times Fred Åkerström openly talked about his despise of Evert Taube, thinking that he was just crap. But now, late in his life, it's like as if he's forgiven Evert Taube and decided to make one of the best interpretations ever, and he made it. So it's mainly for that track that I bought this album. Then over to another songwriter, Dan Andersson, who was active in the 1910s, I think it died in 1920. So, but many singers and have interpreted his songs since then. And I found this very scarce album by a singer called Nils Birgersson. Sjunger Dan Andersson. And he plays the Swedish lute, or the sister as sometimes it's called. This is on the label Rondell, which is a label that I mainly think of Swedish dance bands. I think it's a sub-label to EMI. I'm not really sure there. And I've never seen this album before, so I can't imagine that it was printed in that many copies or sold that well. I guess this is kind of the kind of record that the singer more or less distributed on by himself, even if it says that EMI did the distribution. But well, I don't know. Nils Birgersson anyway sings Don Andersson. Okay, I got some Canadian country here. Anne Murray, Highly Prized Possession. It's alright. Not that fantastic, but it's alright. Oh yeah, this is one of the cooler things I found lately. It's the Italian prog band Gen Fuocos. Pardon if the pronunciation is bad, but I can't say anything in Italian apart from pizza and spaghetti. This is Dentro l'Invisibile, something like that. And it's apparently a very legendary Italian prog album, originally from 1979. The seller told me that this is a limited reissue that was issued some time ago, so it's not the original issue, but very good prog, very good musically and good singing and good, well played, and I'm very happy to get hold of this. Okay, another record that I bought for almost nothing here, and a very famous one. I heard it when I was a kid and I thought that was quite cool, but I never bought it until now, and I'm not sure if I thought it's so cool anymore. But it's Peter Gabriel, So. And since I am a collector of Genesis, then maybe this album should be in my collection as well. Another record that I bought for almost nothing, it's Jackson Browne, Hold Out. It's on the Asylum label, and it's a German pressing from, I think it's from 1980. Yeah. Another very scarce Swedish singer, songwriter, or song interpretator. Why do I keep saying interpretator? Interpreter. And this is a guy called Jonas of Roslagen. Not Jonas of the vinyl community, but Jonas of Roslagen. Very scarce album and it's on the YTF label from the 1980s. I had no idea that YTF was making records in the early 80s. I thought they were bankrupt in the late 90s. This is how also interesting leaflet with text about, and it's also signed. Even though I wouldn't call Jonas of Roslagen a celebrity really, but quite nice. Okay, another record that I bought that was in quite bad condition, especially the cover, but the records look quite nice. It's Cognition by The Road. It's on Kama Sutra. It's from 1971. Don't worry, we'll soon be finished here. Yeah. Some soul-ish music here. Ralph Graham, Wisdom on RCA. It's from 1976, and it's an American issue. Joe Cocker. And this is only called Joe Cocker. And it's from 1971 or 72. It's an Italian pressing on the Cube Records. It's a Cube Records production, so a bit odd. Yeah, then I found this. Delaney Bradley of Bonnie and Delaney fame, of course. And I had no idea that he made solo albums, but of course, why shouldn't he make solo albums? Most people make some sort of solo album, and this is a CBS issue from 1972. We have Björn Jesson Lind, Våta Vingar. Talked a lot about Björn Jesson Lind, and this is quite, I think, a commercially successful album from 1980, mainly because it contains Björn Jesson Lind's probably biggest hit instrumental tune called Brusa högre lilla å, in which we also hear the glorious guitar playing by Janne Schaffer. And this is on Sonnet, and it's a very nice album. Not one of his best or most interesting, but it's good to listen to, good to have rolling in the background. Okay, over to a local hero, the Swedish answer to Jim Reeves, called Gunnar Wiklund, and he also made an album especially where he makes his interpretations of some of Jim Reeves' most famous tunes, and maybe there are some Jim Reeves fans there who may be a bit annoyed, but I think that Gunnar Wiklund did them much better than Jim Reeves himself did them. This is from 1970, and it's a record that has very good background music, very good deep bass, good accompaniment, and good arrangements by Sven-Olof Waldorf, who would later conduct ABBA when they played Waterloo in the Eurovision Song Contest. And this is, I had this before on a cassette, actually, a cassette from 1970 that sounds amazing, and this sounds just as good. And of course he was a good singer, and he passed away much too early. Okay, the last two records I'm going to show are records that I initially, when they were issued, bought on CD, but now I've been trying to find many of these records around the early 90s and to find the actual vinyl editions, because they were released on vinyl as well, although not that many bought them on vinyl. But first we have the comedy group Lars Vegas Trio, på korståg från förslagens bevarande from 1992 on via Metronome. A really odd group, and they still play together today, making acoustic mad versions of the popular music of today and yesterday. On this record we have, well, as weird picks as, well, "Oh Carol," "Kiss" by Prince, "Like a Virgin" by Madonna, "Gimme Gimme Gimme" by ABBA, "Treat Me Like a Fool" by Elvis, "Bad" by Michael Jackson, "Smoke on the Water" by Deep Purple. Everything played on acoustic instruments, maybe a melodica, and lots of madness and comedy. And I've been watching some clips of them on YouTube, and they really make me break up all the time. I mean, they're hilarious. And I bought this on a on a CD back in the 1990s, and he says, even Lars Vegas, the leader, or Lars Gustafsson, his real name, that we're going to end this record with two tracks that those of you who buy the vinyl will never be able to hear. So some extra tracks on the CD, but you couldn't hear them on the vinyl. And he even mocks people who still buys vinyl, because it was so old-fashioned in the early 90s, as you may remember. Oh yes, and finally, maybe one of the best picks here. I think I talked about the group Tarstel Quintet before in this video. A group that, well, the members came from the Swedish punk movement, but they started playing together as a total acoustic group. They didn't even have any electricity or any microphones, so they would be able to play almost anywhere. And then they started making their first album in 1987. That really sounds acoustic and, well, a bit crude, but charming. They had songs that really is about the ordinary life. There's nothing really special that they are about. An ordinary life. Very down to earth. They made a second album in 1989. Then they switched record label and got a more professional producer in Tony Thorén from the group. Is it Eldkvarn? I'm not sure. Eldkvarn or Sorry. Anyway, Tony Toré, and also better studio equipment, and of course by this time they've started to become so popular they couldn't keep on playing all acoustic. They had to have mics and electrically enforced instrument, although they still had a very acoustic sound. And they had a big hit with their third album called Jolly Bob Goriland, and now I managed to get hold of a vinyl version of their fourth, and in my book the best album, although it wasn't the most successful one, and it's called Gud hjälpe Tarstel Quintet. And this is in my book one of the few perfect tens, really perfect tens. There's not a single bad track on this one, and it's awesome. Actually, when I got back from work today, I put this on in the living room and played it out on the speakers, of course. And my dear girlfriend she said after I played, well, play it again. That was so good, because there's a lot of minor keys, and she's from Russia, so she really digs minor keys and thinks that sounds a bit Russian or Eastern and so on. They made 2 more albums, but by then the musical genius of the band in my book, although they are all very good, but the musical spark, Thomas Miklos Fleckman, had left the group, so they weren't really as good, and they folded shortly thereafter. And also the other musical genius of the group, Håkan Ahlström, passed away a couple of years ago, so I really don't think there will be any reunion of this group, sadly. But Gud hjälpe, God help, Tarstel Quintet. Perfect 10. And that's where I end this video. Bye.